welcome to episode number 1 of Tiny Talk. I know I've been talking about this for a little while and asking you to come on. And let's just go ahead and introduce ourselves. So I'm Stephanie Wohlfiel, and I'm a real estate agent and a tiny house enthusiast.
Yes, you are an enthusiast for sure. And I've really enjoyed working with you. I'm Genny Crane, and I'm Rebuilding Green. I'm the executive director of Rebuilding Green, and I also do a couple other things. I'm the chair of the American Tiny House Association here in San Diego, and I've just been bumped up to secretary of the Tiny House Industry Association, which is a national association.
Yay.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I know you do a lot of work with that too, which is what I want to dive into today.
Okay.
And so I met you and Oates a couple of years ago at the Tiny House Fest in Del Mar. And that's when I was starting to look for my very first tiny house, which was the Puebla, if I remember right. Fell in love with that little house. And that's what started my dream. And I don't believe I was in the REAN, the Women's Real Estate Networking Association yet. But I was just starting to kind of venture out that. And I was wondering to myself, oh, I love this little house. Where can I put it? Oh, how much is it? How does this all begin? Where do I begin? And I reached out to you guys, and you kind of led me down that little path and held my hand, and you were there for my 1,000,001 questions, and probably 2,000,000 questions, I think. And then I hopped you on board with the REAN network that we're in, and now we're building a tiny house village in Yosemite. So that's kind of what I'm all about, and bringing Genny into this. So I just purchased what I call Tiny Blue, and it is up in Groveland, California, currently being rented on Airbnb, and we're killing it. It is at a 70% occupancy rate.
Wow.
Yeah, totally. I am floored.
Right.
Of course, just doing that on Airbnb, but what a space. I mean, the tiny house space is on so many levels. It's affordable. It's what's cool right now with all the shows that they have out there.
Yes.
Which of course that's what hooked me. And then I saw the Tiny Fest in Del Mar, and I'm like, oh, I am so there. And just walked around there and just continued to dream. So starting from 2 years ago at the Tiny House Fest to today.
Wow.
So
You've done a lot in 2
yeah,
years.
I have done a lot in 2 years, but that's because of you.
Oh.
Because you held my hand and answered all my questions, I was brave enough to go ahead and do that jump. We didn't expect the tiny house being built so fast. I think that's my only complaint. If that is a complaint, I was like, oh, that's going to take 6-8 months. So we'll be ready with permits by then. But oops, we weren't. So we went ahead and pulled that tiny house up to Yosemite, and we're off grid right now, but still renting.
Right.
And what do I mean by off grid? That's a 250-gallon septic tank connected. Water's connected from the hose. And then electricity, of course, is just a 220. So pretty self-explanatory. And she rents all the time. So the only thing that is a huge thorn is that septic tank, which, of course, we have to get pumped every single week.
Oh, every week?
Every week.
Wow.
Yeah. And there's actually 2 tiny houses up there, too. One came in, Jessica's came in from, hers was from Canada.
Oh, okay.
And that was just delivered, I think, at the beginning of this month. So she's almost done a full month of rentals as well. It's not as highly sought out because it does only fit 2 people, even though she does have a loft. Mine fits 6, so very sought after. I highly recommend the 2 loft situation.
Oh, yeah. That's a very popular unit.
Yeah. Yeah. What's my unit's name? The Athena.
You named it Athena.
Oh, I named it
and
Athena.
I kind of like that because it's actually an Athens double loft.
There it is.
And so you took the ATH and added ENA, and then Athena was born.
Yep. Athena was born,
Yeah.
and then ended up becoming Tiny Blue because, I don't know, that's just, I think, what my husband picked. So he was like, what does Athena mean? And I was like, well, I don't know. It's the name of the tiny house itself. And he goes, no, I think it should be called Tiny Blue. So my husband changed the name to Tiny Blue, and it stuck.
It totally fits it.
Yeah,
You
it
did a
does.
great job of picking the colors. The color is amazing. So I'm with the tiny
Everybody
blue.
loves it.
Yeah.
Everybody loves it. And then I just went ahead and furnished it and put it up on Airbnb, and it immediately started getting rentals probably in the first week. So again, on that temporary situation, it is a little dodgy with the pumping the septic, but we're going to do that until we get our permits because there's no other way. So it's just hooked up like an RV, I guess, is
Yeah.
what it is right now. So that's legal as far as I know, or at least that's what we're doing. So, but we are so close to permits. I think we're actually going to be getting our hearing this fall. So in October.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we've waited since March. So definitely, if you're thinking about doing anything with tiny houses, make sure you start your plan, your permits, all of that, way ahead of time. Don't wait till the last minute. Even Tuolumne County and up in Yosemite, is going to take almost a full year
Yeah.
from
Well,
beginning.
what you're doing there is different. It's not like you didn't acquire an existing piece of land that already had the ordinance. You actually you started from scratch, and that is why I've been very excited on working with you, because what we've heard all throughout even the nation is that there's not any new parks, no new parks, because of the whole stigma that unfortunately has been there for quite some time against trailer parks.
Yep.
But I mean, such a time as this that we can actually jump on the tiny home movement and get rid of that stigma. Instead of having a park, you have a tiny home community. And so that's why I'm super excited on working with you ladies, because we can now point to this is a brand new community, because, it's a new park, essentially because of the ordinance that they're having to use. But it's up to us, and that's the work that I do, to try to rebrand that so we're not ever calling it a park, and it doesn't smell or touch or feel like excuse me, a trailer park.
Yeah.
It actually is a tiny home community.
Yep.
And so once that's done, man, it's going to really open some eyes, and that's what the work that we do, that's what our goal is to actually get more like zoning, like the trailer park zoning, but we like to call it tiny home zone.
Yep.
So that you can put tiny homes there. Even, I mean, whether you're doing what you're doing as far as Airbnb or actually putting a community down, that's the type of ordinance that we need. So I'm super excited to see that go through. And are they allowing outside, or they only want locals to come to that public hearing?
It's public. So we're going to I'm going to try to get all the investor ladies. There's 12 of us total. I know you're working with a few of them to get the tiny houses up there. So I'm going to try to get as many as we can out there that are owners. And then our property manager up there, Kenny, is also the local bartender. So I know we can get those folks in there. And we're going to have T-shirts and banners. We're
I
going to
want
make
to
it a
come.
big, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
We're going to fly up and have Tiny House Village T-shirts made and the whole 9 yards.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah, just to make it look really exciting. And boy, do they need it up there. I mean, there's just not enough places to stay.
Yeah.
I was flabbergasted at that. And the price of the hotel rooms up there for what you get, too, is just nuts.
No, when I went and visited, I was blown away. Groveland is awesome.
Yeah.
Like, what a spot you got.
Yep.
That's an amazing spot. It's going to do very, very well.
Yeah, we are a little, I guess, a gold rush town from 1852.
Oh, wow.
1852 is when Groveland was incorporated or found as, yeah. So that's when all that was going on. But what I want to dive into next is I want you to tell everyone kind of what you're up to up in Santa Isabel.
Okay, so first off, we've helped other communities throughout California, a lot of government projects that we've been able to do, which is really exciting. And we're currently involved in several new ones as well right now. But what I did was I also, went the park route. We acquired an old dilapidated trailer park. And even though we don't like to say the word, that's kind of the dirty word in our industry, but it is what it is. It's a trailer park. And so the location is like yours. We're actually near a gold town, which is Julian. And So right as you go into Julian, it's about 7 miles away. The location is awesome. It's a location somewhat similar to yours, because it's kind of more of like a resort type of area that doesn't have places to stay. And so we're at what we call the Crossroads. Actually, we don't just call it, but it's been called the Crossroads. It's a historical area as well. It used to be like the mail run coming in from Colorado to California, the backcountry mountain way. And so we're doing similar to you, Airbnb. We initially acquired the park. I mean, it has multifaceted purposes, because of the work that we do, a lot of advocacy work for legalizing tiny homes, whether it's backyards, single family lots, or communities. We're kind of using that as number one, pointing to look what you could do to a dilapidated trailer park. You can turn it into a nice tiny home community, whether it's, for housing insecure folks or all the way to resorts. It's still a way that we can point to a park, And then number two, it's a try before you buy, because the way we sustain ourselves as a nonprofit organization, just because we're a nonprofit organization doesn't mean we don't have bills.
Yeah.
So to sustain ourselves, we sell units. So we'll have 10 different floor plans that people can choose from. And then, lastly is the Airbnb, so we can make money along the way as well.
Yeah.
While people are going through the process, like you found the process of putting a park together, but a lot of our clients are also individuals who are putting, like the movable tinies or an ADU in their backyard. So those are all the purposes. And of course, we're going to have events there. We've already been approached by many people looking at, the location, and of course, the tiny homes as a great place to do, maybe weddings or even camps for kids and just all types of just wonderful things. So we're super excited. Yes. We had our first retreat there.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, I put my toe in the water. My son did a retreat, and we had a blast. It was pretty successful.
That's awesome. Yeah,
yes.
we are so looking forward to that. Our yoga dome up there is finally complete.
Oh, wow.
When you were up there, I don't know if it was
I didn't see it. It was just
wasn't even
the
show.
deck.
The deck.
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, came in stages. First the big shell or the skeleton of the dome, and then finally our property manager and a couple of friends found tall enough ladders to get the canvas all the way over. Yeah, that was no small feat. If anyone ever wants to just build a tiny home in a day, a dome in a day, you can't do it. It's insane. So don't let them think that you can.
Okay.
It's not that easy like it says on the directions.
Wow.
But yeah, so that is done now. So we'll just get flooring probably after this winter. Right now it's just sitting on the deck. It's bolted to the deck. But, or we'll just leave it like that and just, let whatever happen. We're open for anything right now. But first things first is definitely our permits so we can get our septic system.
Yes.
That is what we're just waiting for. That is gold for us right now, is getting that all set up, which is huge. So being in this business of real estate, I could probably say just maybe monthly, I probably get 10 to 12 calls.
Wow.
Just asking, hey, I want to buy land and I want to put a tiny house on it.
Wow.
Yep. So many people, because they're looking at the price right now of just an average condo in San Diego, and it's $500,000. And that's actually not even a really nice one. Like that's kind of a starter home almost. So with that amount of money, you could purchase land. The only problem is with all of the utilities, and the zoning. The zoning probably wouldn't matter so much if you go so far out, but nothing really in this area. And I asked Harvey if he would come and be on Tiny Talk.
Oh, he did say that. Yes.
Yeah. So we're going to dive deep on the zoning issue on the next episode of Tiny Talk. So, but I know this is I asked on Facebook, what would be your question? And everyone asked, how do I start?
Oh, wow.
Where do I begin? So knowing what you know, what would you say if someone just said, hey, I want to buy one of your tiny houses? How do I begin?
Okay. Well, unfortunately, because of the zoning issues, not everybody, I would say 9 out of 10 people we have to turn down. But I mean, we don't turn them down out of the gate. We ask number one question, well, where are you going to put it? And so that really opens up, where they're going to put it and whether or not they can actually put it there. We always say, hey, look, at the end of the day, it's up to you to do what you want to do. But we have to tell you like what the legalities are and what you're allowed to do for wherever it is that you're trying to put it.
Yeah.
So that's the number one question. So currently, if you're in San Diego, there's really only 2 jurisdictions out of the 19 that you can put a tiny home. And we call it movable tiny home. That's kind of the legal word that we've come up with across the board throughout the nation. And so it would be the city of San Diego, which is the largest, demographic as far as population is concerned. The only problem with that is we find that in the city that the lots aren't as big. And so folks will have issues. They have a 10-foot setback rule from the primary residence. So that really kind of pushes a lot of folks out because, again, the lots are a lot smaller in the city. And so the other one is actually in the county of San Diego. And the county of San Diego, they've actually had this permit that's been around for at least a decade. And a lot of people don't know about it. It's called a healthcare permit. And so we've actually helped a lot of folks get into that healthcare permit. It's the easiest permit that there is because it's over the counter. And so literally if you have your site plan, and your site plan is actually, where you kind of draw out where the house is, where you're going to put the unit, and how you're going to hook it up into the utilities. And so if you have your site plan along with the floor plan, and you fill out a very simple application and your money to pay for it, and the fee for it has never been over $500. I would say not even really over $400.
Okay, good.
So you pay your fee, and if you have everything all together, they'll actually give you an over-the-counter permit, which is unheard of. It's the easiest permit to get. So we would love to try to take that, as a state law, but we have to find someone that's going to get behind us first. But so again, going back to San Diego, the healthcare permit is something that you can do. And it doesn't necessarily mean you have to be, an elderly person either. We've gotten folks that are, younger to be able to get that permit. And I do know that currently right now, because I'm on one of the committees for the housing in San Diego County, that they are very, very close to actually getting the movable tiny home permit or ordinance approved. And so they've been, actually the implementation plan has been around since October 2021. So it's been quite some time. That just kind of shows you how long it can actually take when you're, trying to get laws changed. And so they're not only looking, this is super exciting, they're not only looking at a movable tiny home as a secondary unit, but they're actually looking at it as, or they're very open to having it as a single lot. So you can have a single family lot where you'd be able to actually put a tiny home. Now,
Nice.
like the rules that are going to go with that is almost going to be probably like putting a new home on there because you have to have the infrastructure. But the one that's super exciting is the one for communities, and that they're calling it small lot development. So that's for the county, and that is like where we're very excited because that's really where we're really going to be able to make a difference in, providing the housing that we need, like badly. You know that. It's
Yesterday.
ridiculous. I mean, for the price of one home in San Diego, you can have a village.
Yeah. And
So
you can have 5.
yeah,
You can
exactly.
have 5 tiny houses. Yeah. I mean, all in, whenever anyone says, oh, how much was your tiny house? I just go 100,000. They're like, that's it? Like, yeah. And I got to pick all of my finishings. I got to do the